Shalom. Allah start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to those for that's pushing this truth across four corners of the earth, all fair truth and sincerity. This I'm on the back again in the city. This one going to this article I found. It's called by the Navigator. So I'm getting to is Americans struggle to keep up with rising costs. This Navigator research report covers how Americans continue to sour on the economy and are changing their lifestyle in order to try and keep up with rising costs. So you got American people out here, scaling down. They downgrade, to living within their means, because how everything is going up, the rise of costs and so forth, of gas and food and so forth. But big takeaways: Americans are overwhelmingly pessimistic about the economy, as majorities feel costs are rising. Their personal financial situation is unease. Americans report taking action to help save money or increase income, including staying home rather than going out, selling personal items online, or even selling blood plasma. So they doing what you got to do, right, to survive in this economy. But it's gonna get worse, man. But it ain't gonna get no better. But reading on, a majority continue to disapprove of President Trump's handling of the economy, while Democrats have a slight trust advantage on addressing cost of living issues. Though 1 in 4 trust neither party, so a house divided cannot stand. So you got Americans really not, trusting neither party, But reading on President Trump's economic approval rating is at read that again. President Trump's economic approval rating is at a historical low, one of worst ever. But cost continues to rise. Americans are feeling the effects firsthand. A majority disapprove of President Trump's handling of the economy. Net negative 19.4% approve, negative 59% disapprove, and his handling of his job as president, net negative 40% approve, negative 58% disapprove. Notably, Notably, the economic disapproval is even higher among independents. 72% disapprove, and includes a plurality of non-mega Republicans. 39% disapprove. Go from there. It said, while Americans are expressing their disapproval of President Trump's handling of the economy, they also feel strongly that he is focused on the wrong things. 55% overall, including 63% of independents. People are pessimistic about the direction of the country by double-digit margins. Americans feel we will be worse off a year from now. 43%, and that we were better off a year ago. 40%. Let's see. So I'm gonna go from there. It said women are feeling more economic unease than men. 63% of women do not feel confident about their own financial situation, compared to 53% of men. Self-identified service workers are most likely to rate the economy as poor or not so good. 78% feel similarly uneased, but their personal finances, and feel similarly uneased about their personal finances. 71%. By a 15 net point margin, Americans who watch CNN or MSNBC are more likely to rate the economy poorly compared to Fox News watchers. They are also mostly likely to feel unease about their personal finances by a 12 negative point margin. Yeah, so hey, the Americans out there, they don't like it. They're not liking what Donald Trump is doing in the economy. They are very uneasy and dissatisfied with how things are going with the economy and the high rise prices of food, gas, so forth, and they got to scale down their living lifestyle. They can't, ball out like they used to or whatever, So let me see some on this. So Americans are feeling the pain of rising costs across demographics and within every cost category. An overwhelming majority of Americans are feeling squeezed by rising costs. As many as 9 in 10 people feel gas prices are going up. 8 in 10 feel costs generally are going up, and even 7 in 10 feel the cost of utilities is going up. It's across the board, So yeah, so basically, damn near everything going up, right? I say, man, it just like I say, this the times. This is the times. The sign of the times. Displace America, Babylon the Great going down. Inflation, how everything going up, and eventually, like I say, this economy, this stock market, and everything's gonna crash. This financial system is gonna crash, and it's gonna usher in a new way of buying and selling. It's gonna be by way of the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. It's all it's leading to right now. It's this economy, this financial system, this economy is gonna crash. So they can usher in it, so they can bring in and make mandatory of the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. The problem to the solution, But you're gonna have a lot of people. You're gonna have people just gonna not take that, right? They're gonna, rebel, fight back. And those people that do that, they're gonna be get put in concentration camps, right? And getting killed off or even kicked off in the streets, So it's gonna that's the times that we are heading. That's forward, going forward. And it's gonna be all out chaos in the streets, America, Babylon the Great, in the cities, and martial law troops all out, chaos, right? In the streets of America, Babylon the Great, and hey, this place, in this place, America, Babylon the Great going down, and the Lord Yahushua, he gonna make his return and destroy this place, America, Babylon the Great, But it's some more on this, but I just want to get to just read some points of the article, but we'll get some scriptures to back it up. This is 2 Ezra 8:50. For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. So yeah, so many great miseries. So that's what ahead. Many great miseries are ahead for these people here in America, Babylon Great, because they walk in great pride. And the lawyer how about Shai, he don't like a prideful, he don't like pride. He don't like a puffed up pride people. People that's out here, they think they they think they all like they untouchable, whatever. Like they just they just think they untouchable, whatever. They got this pridefulness, puffed up mentality, right? And that's what America, Babylon Great, they push out there, man. These proudful ways, and they don't acknowledge. They don't acknowledge the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, Yahweh who y'all call God, and Yahushua who y'all call Jebus. That's all those are the real names in the Hebrew. Yahweh, why Yahushua, and you got these proud people out here, man, and doing all this wickedness out here and pushing all this selfishness of themselves, and and uh, all about me. Look at me. Social media. And so forth, man. Just a lot of just foolishness and folly, stupidity. That Lord Yahweh Hashem Shai hates. And like I said, a lot of people out here finna be, getting, those those harsh judgments by the Lord Yahweh Hashem Shai in these times going forward. And all the ones gonna escape the wrath and judgments of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Shai is the elect of the so-called Negro, Latino natives, which are the Israelites. And hopefully on probably righteous number, and those that believe in Lord Yahweh and hope to be to escape the wrath and judgments of the Lord Yahweh. Because that's man, this is how real, and that's the reality that's ahead for a lot of people here in America, Babylon the Great. And let's say those that people that don't have Lord Shai, on a corner, what I'm saying, behind them, or don't have the hedge of protection by the Lord Shai in these times, by the Lord Yahweh by the Lord Yahweh in these times. It's gonna have to deal with those judgments, right? That's prepared for them. 2/3 Israelites of our people, so-called Negro, Latino natives, that are not right. Gonna have to deal. Excuse me. I'm gonna have to deal with those harsh judgments of Lord Yahweh or Lord Yahweh in these times. That's set up for them. That's what it is. But the 1/3, the elect. I mean, the middle Lord, the elect. Of the Negro, Latino natives, Israelites. The 1/3 of that number, righteous number, gonna have mercy, from Lord Yahweh, and not have to deal with those harsh judgments, But we'll be going like in times that we're now, going through going through these trials, tribulations, because that's times that we ain't going forward. It ain't as bad as it's gonna be going forward, but it's gonna get there. What I'm saying? The days are speeding up. There's gonna be a lot of more things happening, and people losing their minds more, and people just going crazy, doing what they gotta do to survive, right? Steal, kill, rob. It's gonna get way worse than it is right now, especially going into the summer. It's going to the summer into the fall of this year, and 26, man. It's like I say, this economy, like I say, this financial system, this economy could crash this year. The crash of all crashes could happen this year, bro. Before the fall. So we just gotta see, but it's trending that way. It's definitely could happen. So that's the times that we're in. So a lot of people out here that rocking in great pride and prideful and all that. And like I said, Lord Yahweh Shai, he, with all that proudfulness and being puffed up and all that stuff like that. And these how these people, in America, Babylon Great, they think they invincible or whatever, But Lord Yahweh Shai finna bring that proudful ways down, finna humble a lot of so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelites in America, Babylon Great, and these Americans, in America, are gonna be humbled, in these times are going forward. But see, next verse. I did not want to make this too long. It's Matthew 24:21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. So it's gonna be great. So great tribulations, great troubles. Gonna be such as not since the world began. So it's gonna be, the times that we're heading in is gonna be the times, not since the world began. It's gonna be how worse. It's gonna be just horrible, horrific. Words put it's just gonna be, some out of horror movie that you see. Your worst nightmares. They say, but it's gonna be your reality. It's gonna be in your face. It's gonna be happening in real time. So that's the times that we in, man. So it's gonna get very wild out here, man. We're gonna have these wild animals and so forth out here, running around and jumping on people, like Jumanji, and kind of have a sense like how wild it could get. What I'm saying? We're gonna have lions and tigers and bears and so forth, probably running out here in the streets of America, Babylon the Great. They get loose from the zoo somehow. That could happen. Like I say, just You know, it's gonna get crazy. It's gonna get wild out here, man. It's gonna be, but like I say, it ain't gonna be no movie that you seen on TV or in the movies. It's gonna be reality. It's gonna be right in your face playing out, you know. But go from there. I ain't wanna make it too long. So I'm gonna end off of this. It's Matthew 24:22. And except those days be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So yeah, so the days are being shortened for the elect's sake, you know. Cause no flesh shall be saved, you know, because, you know, for the elect's sake, you know, the days are being shortened. Because how bad is, you know, days that we, you know, times that we in now going forward, it's gonna get, you know, going forward, it's gonna get hectic. It's gonna get, like I said, out of control, wild, chaotic, you know. So for the elect's sake, so that's why the day is going to speeding up. Because Lord Yahshua, you know, he's going to make his return and deliver his elect, you know, from his wrath and judgments. You know, he's going to, you know, from the destruction they're going to bring upon America, Babylon the Great, you know, and destroy this place. And destroy this place, America, Babylon the Great, with that fire from the chariot, so-called UFOs, and and then ultimately the thermonuclear missiles raining down upon America, Babylon the Great, you know. And everything you see here gonna be destroyed, you know. And so, with that, I didn't want to make this too long. Hope this was edifying. Again, like if our present